who used to work till late. From the day of marriage, he started going off slowly at 5 p.m. to be with his lovely wife. In the morning when he comes, you can see a smile, a broad smile in his face, because he's manifesting the wonders of married life. So this went on like this for some time. After a while, one day when I came in, I saw this guy in a completely different atmosphere. He was sort of having a frown in his face, no smile. His head was down. So I was wondering what it is. So I went to him and asked, hey friend, what's wrong? What's happening? So he said, I said, did you get up from the wrong side of the bed? No, Upul, it's a misfire. He said, no, Upul, it's a misfire. What do you mean? I asked. My wife is pregnant, Machang. It's a misfire. He said, come on. Did you thank her? Did you congratulate her? Did you hug her? Did you send some flowers and a card? He said, no, Machang. You know, I wanted to enjoy life, maybe for 2 years or so, and then have children. And I wanted to travel around the country and go abroad and have a good time, gala time with my wife. But all that is gone. Actually, I scolded her for miscalculating the dates. So she got pregnant because she miscalculated the date. She thought she won't get pregnant on that day. Oh my God, I said. Friend, that is not the way to handle your wife who has got pregnant. You should have congratulated her, hugged her, thanked her for getting pregnant. And you should have sent some flowers and maybe a card. I don't know whether he took the advice. Right. Now, the moral of the story is this guy was not ready for parenthood. He was not ready for parenthood. It's a blessing which you get from the Lord. So when you get a blessing, my dear friends, you should welcome it. You should welcome the blessing which you get from the Lord. Right. Basically, like this guy, most of us parents become parents without any planning, suddenly. For instance, you might be an engineer, accountant, a doctor, or any other professional. You know, you have gone through 13 years of training at school and then professional qualifications and on-the-job training to become that professional. Even a mason has to go through a period of training as a helper, and then only you can work as a mason. But we think we don't need to have any training to be a parent. My mother became a parent without any problem. She didn't have any training. Maybe the grandmother would have helped. But I will tell you, it's very important that we'll study as to how we can be the best of breed parents. Parenting is the most responsible, future-defining task in this world for certain, because you are bringing up new children to this world who will define what the world is going to be tomorrow. So let's examine our conscience and see whether we have been prepared to be a good parent. Are we prepared? Have we learned about it? It's very important to update our knowledge on a continuous basis. And if we don't do that, we won't be giving the best to our children. Now, lovely people, I have a question for you. What is the best gift you can give your child? What is the best gift you can give your child? Think for a while. What's the best gift you can give your child? Is it education? Is it training? Is it sending to the best school, best Christian school? Or what? Ponder for a while. You might say, I have done the best for my child. I have given the best of breed facilities. I have got him to the best Christian school. I have sent him for extracurricular activities, dancing, speech and drama, music, cricket, this and that, and everything I have sent. So I think I'm a good parent. Right? So the question I ask you is, what's the best gift you can give your child? If you don't have an answer, maybe you might have some answers. I would say the best gift you can give your child is the relationship between you and your spouse. You should have a godly, loving relationship with you and your spouse. That is the best gift you can give your children. Because when children see parents fighting, parents having problems, that really puts them down. And if you are God-fearing, if you are spiritual, you can give spirituality and emotional and psychological upbringing which a child needs in his early years and teen years and after even leaving your house. Okay, Shiranthi. Now, after all this, we will ask my dear sweetheart, what else have you got to say about parenting?
There's a question. It is about what is a parent's responsibility, or what are parents' responsibilities towards their children. Now, before I talk about that, this question is something that is very close to our hearts as parents. Because we might be thinking about it a lot, about what we do for our children, about how we do, about the education, just as Upul mentioned. There are lots and lots of things that we want to give our children and do for our children. And these are sometimes really worrying us. We might worry about it. It's a big burden on our shoulders sometimes to be taking on the challenge and to be taking on the responsibility, the accountability of being a parent. Now, just like Upul asked you a question, if I ask you, this is what we normally do when we have, face-to-face discussions and conferences and seminars, we ask the audience, how many children do you have? So there are various answers coming, 1, 2, 3, 4 or more. And then we further go and ask, whose child is it? Whose children are they? I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? The answer comes promptly saying, it's my child. Sometimes you even forget that it's your child, it is the parent's child. But sometimes you say, it's my child. It's not even our child. But I want you to think and ponder for a moment. As parents, no, not as parents, but as Christian parents, what do you really think your responsibility is towards your child or your children? Because a Christian parent's responsibility is different from that of any other parent. We feel the child is ours, but the child is only given to us. The child is a gift from God. And when it comes from God, it's nothing less than divine. So pure, so divine, so delicate, and so godly. It's as if a piece of God is being given to us, given to you and your spouse, to have and to hold and to cherish, and to give back to the Lord. Because don't forget, the gift belongs to the giver. The giver is the Lord, and the Lord has chosen the two of you to be mere caretakers. We are just caretakers. When we are caretakers, we are here to execute whose plan? For the child, for the giver's plan. So the Lord's plan is what we execute, not our plan. This point is something that is very close to our hearts. I'm sure it is so too. Now the fact it remains that most of the parents try to execute their own plan for the child. And more often than not, this plan is what we as parents, we as children rather, missed in our childhood. So whatever we couldn't achieve here, we find a golden opportunity in our child that we want to achieve our dreams through our child. Now a small example, what happened to Upul? Now Upul's mother is a maths teacher. Upul, when he was young, had been a die-hard cricket fan, so is he now. And he loved cricket, and he was also good in cricket, I'm told. So what happened was, though Upul was really keen to get a training in cricket and get into St. Joseph's cricket team, his mother wouldn't hear of it. For his mom, Upul had to become an engineer. So finally, he ended up being an engineer. Little disappointed. But when we got married, and we got a divine gift from God, our first son, he was a tall boy, we could see it from his birth. Upul saw a golden opportunity in this child to make him a cricketer. The dream that he couldn't achieve, here's the opportunity. But our son is not interested in cricket. He loves music, piano, choir, whatnot. So we have to understand, my dear friends, if we haven't thought of it that way, the thing is, you might not even know that you're doing this. It is not intentional. But if we are aware, and if we know that the child is a divine gift from God and we are mere executors, then we will look at it in a different way. So this is what the Lord tells us on how we are to execute a plan for the child. And then there's also this concept that we have to, when we do something for the child, it is not that we are doing anything for the child, but it is we are doing for the Lord. It is also about being, for example, a child is not a possession. We might think so, that a child is a possession because we have the legal right to our children. But no, child is not a possession. He or she is not a materialistic thing. Now from that we move on to the child's this divine bond with his or her mother. Now before we get into this, we have a short clip that we would like to play, and maybe after the clip we'll start again. I'll just explain to you what this clip was about. It was about a child who was in an orphanage. Some of you may have seen this also. So this child misses the mother so much. And one day, when all the other children are playing, this child goes in search of something, and he's actually looking for a piece of chalk, some crayons. He finds it, he comes down, he goes past all the children that was playing. He goes past the security officer, and the security officer tries to stop him, but he wouldn't let him stop. And then he goes on to an isolated area where there's a tarred floor, like a basketball court. And then the child starts drawing something, some outline on the basketball court. And then he gets into that, cuddles up and sleeps. And the picture he drew was of a lady that was supposed to be his mom. The closeness the warmth that the child didn't get from the mother is what he's trying to depict. Why am I relating this story to you? As much as we know that how important it is for a mother's bonding, for a child's growth, we might forget about it. Because in today's context, according to psychologists, they say that most of the children or the young children or the preteens who have issues in their lives, if you really do the root cause, it is because that there have been shortcomings in the motherhood. Shortcomings in the motherhood. That, my dear friends, especially my dear ammis and mums who are there, it is a reminder for us. We cannot just wash our hands off. We don't even have the right to be angry, just like Mother Mary was. And it's a great ask from us. We are human, we get angry. But we are called upon to be like Mother Mary, to be loving unconditionally to our children. Now that will take us to our next slide, to what is parenting.
I have a question for you again, my dear lovely parents. What is parenting? What is parenting? Shiranthi just now discussed some very important facts about Christian parents. We have heard, as I said earlier, some parents making a very bold statement that we have done, including me, before I got exposed to the Lord's word. I thought I have done everything for my kids by sending them to one of the best Catholic Christian schools and giving them all the facilities. I thought I have done everything. So, some of us think the same way. I might say I never missed any immunization. I gave all the health protections. When he was sick, when he or she was sick, we took them to the best doctors, and if needed, we hospitalized them and gave the best I can afford to. And I might put a crown upon my head and say, I'm one of the best parents around. That's a crown which all of us try to wear. But have we done everything for our kids? Have we done everything for our kids? Basically, I would say what I just told is only half the job. Right? So, what's the other half? How about the spiritual needs of your child? How about the emotional and psychological needs of your child? The other half comprises of that. So, from where does the child learn? And how do they inculcate good habits and bad habits? It is by socializing. People learn through socializing. That means I socialize with a certain person, I learn from that guy. And my brain is programmed. The next time I do something, I will have it at the back of my mind. A kid who's born doesn't have any programming like that. So, when he socializes with the mom, with the mother, then he had some learning. So the learning first he gets is from the mother. The guy is socializing while he is feeding. Then the father. Who else? Grandparents. So it's very important that we parents take care that when we perform in front of our children. Actually, it can be said like this. It's a platform it's a stage where Shiranthi and myself and you parents perform in front of your children. And they are watching. They are watching what you are doing. For instance, one day, my elder son, he was about, I think, 4 or so. Now he's 17 plus. He said, "You idiot." So I was wondering from where he learned this. He learned it from a sweetheart, Shiranthi, right? By socializing with Shiranthi, he learned that. And my second child would say, when I tell her to do something, "Okay, Tati, I'll do it in a while. Don't worry, I'll do it in a while." She has learned it from me. One day, the smallest one said, "Hey, Tati, I'll throw you out of the window so that you can never come back." I was astounded. So, he has learned it from another close relative of ours. So, all these children learn through socializing. So, as I said, we are on a platform in front of our children. They watch us. They learn from us. They talk like us. They do the same thing we do. They copy the same things. So it's very important that we be aware about that. So if we send our children to the best Christian school and send them to the Sunday school and give them the best of breed, training, blah, 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 and spend money on those, that doesn't mean we are a good parent. Because children, we have to be aware as to with whom children socialize. They socialize with you first and whoever is at home. So it's very important that you perform. You have to be spiritual. If you are spiritual, your kid will be spiritual. If you are not spiritual, you can't expect your child to read the Bible, to read the word. That won't happen. So, if you are to say you are the best of breed parent, then make certain that you correct your mistakes and you have a very good relationship with your spouse. Other thing is, when we are in front of our children, basically, if we have a disagreement, Shiranthi and if I have a disagreement, it's very vital that we don't fight in front of them, especially when the kids are below 6 years. So it's very important that we don't fight in front of them. If you want to fight, go to your room, close the door and fight. Or go somewhere else and fight, but not in front of your children. Because at a tender age, when the people most close to them, the parents, Ammi and Tati, Mom and Dad, fight, their whole world crumbles. I can remember when I was about 3 years old, one day, my father and mother had an argument. It was a small thing, but I was terrified. I went to my grandmother's lap and kept my head on her lap and cried. I thought everything is over. I'm going to be alone. At a tender age, they don't know that you will reconcile maybe in hour's time or immediately or a day's time. They don't know that. So it's very important that you perform, to realize that you perform in front of your kids. Right. Shiranthi, what else have you got to say?
Right. It takes us to our next statement about parenting, that it is a blessing to be a parent. We are emphasizing more about the smaller children below the age of 6, just as Upul said. Psychologists and doctors say that a child's mind or his brain, his or her brain, grows up to 90%, develops up to 90% up to the age of 6. You can imagine 90% of the brain development happens below the age of 6. Just have you heard when any of your children or maybe your friends saying, "My God, this child is so sharp. We never thought that they could grasp this." It is because it's such a fast learning at this point of time. Now, when a child is below the age of 6, for the parents, everything they do is an enjoyable thing. Even if the child does something wrong, it's a matter to laugh for the parents. They look at it laughingly and they are able to tolerate. They can tolerate. They want to tolerate because during this time, the parents feel that they have been fulfilled, that they are fulfilled because of this child. That is the reason why they can afford to be very happy despite what the child does. This fulfillment of the divine gift is felt best when the child is below the age of 6. Now, there is something, even though we are very happy about it, and we even probably know that this is a divine gift from God, we like to brag about what we do for the child. Like he mentioned before, we do so many things for the child and we boast about it. We talk about it. We tell everyone about it as if we have done a big thing. But the fact still remains that whatever you do for your child is your responsibility and what you owe back to the Lord. See, the Lord blessed you even when you were not worthy, even when we were not worthy of receiving these graces. Having been blessed, then isn't it our way of thanking the Lord by doing the things that we ought to be doing in the Lord's plan I explained to you before? So whenever you do something for the child, please make a mental note that we should not be bragging about what we do for our children. I am guilty of it, he is guilty of it, and I'm sure most of you are. But let's take this as one thing that we start doing from today, that we look at it as if this is something that we ought to be doing. Therefore, it is not anything exceptional that we are doing.
It's a blessing, actually.
It is a blessing. Then also, there are couples who might not have children. There was a friend of mine, actually a friend of ours. They didn't have children for a long time. And one day she came and told me that they have decided to go for adoption. I felt so happy for her because this was something that she was contemplating for a long time. And then they went and adopted 3 children. So they have gone again beyond the boundaries of parenthood. So it is a blessing that the Lord will give you in double dose, because you have now been able to show God's love not to your own flesh and blood only, but to someone who would have never known the love that a family, a mother and a father can share. So if you want to go ahead for adoption, it will be God's blessing for you. Right, let's move on.
Actually, the video we missed out is here. Maybe you can watch it now. Might not get the sound, but watch it.
So once again, like I said, the little boy is going down the stairs. This is an orphanage. And he is going looking for something. And he finds it. There he puts his hand in and takes a handful of something, which I mentioned to you before. So it's the crayons. Then he comes down. Like I said, there are so many children playing, and he gets an invite too. But he rejects the invite to play. And he keeps on going. He catches the attention of the security guard. He slowly removes his slippers. Calmly he draws. There's a lot of concentration in the drawing, so much feeling in his face. And I'm not sure if you could see that outline. It might be a little faint, but that's okay. Now you see it. That's the outline. How he is trying to cuddle in the arms of his mum, in the warmth of his mother. Then we talk of a child's growth.
Get that?
So we say this is about a child's growth again. They say that a child grows every minute. And how does a child grow? A child grows in 3 dimensions. Firstly, it's the physical growth. Secondly, it's a psychological growth. And thirdly, and most importantly for Christian parents, the spiritual growth. Now, out of these 3, physical, psychological, and spiritual, we are so very good at the first one. A child's physical growth is something that we worry day in and day out, don't we? It's about what we give the child to eat, how we clothe him or her, what are the other things that we want to give. So it's a matter of, doing one after the other to ensure that the child's physical growth is really well looked after. Now, what about a child's psychological growth? If you wonder, how could I help as a parent for the psychological growth of my child? I will tell you a very simple way. I have learnt it, Upul has learnt it, we have practiced it, and it is proven and tested by psychologists and doctors, and it is so very true. It is so free of charge. It's about appreciation. It's about appreciating your child when the child does something. That psychologically helps the child to be happy, to be feeling that he's been recognized, to be feeling that he or she is doing something good for the parents to feel happy. So it's a reciprocal thing. So this psychological development is something that you and I can practice every day. Now, when my little boy, he brings a glass of water to us, what happens is, one day I was ironing the clothes and I was sweating. Without me asking, he brought me a glass of water. And I hugged him and I kissed him and said, "Thank you, darling." What he said was, "I knew that you will say that, that's why I brought it." So you see the need for the child to hear that from a parent. And it is something that you can practice every day. Thirdly, this is the spiritual growth, the spiritual development of a child. Now, I heard Upul was talking about how we can build the child's spirituality and why we should do that. Can you imagine how would your child be spiritual or learn to be spiritual if that doesn't come from home? You cannot expect the school to do everything. That's what the teachers always say, the rectors always say that. It's not just us who do it. It is not actually. It is about the first 6 years that the child learns the most. And by the time he reaches school, it is already 5+. So the learning for the 1 to 5.5 years, he's already lost if you hadn't done that previously. So a little thing that I would like to share with what Upul and I tried was to read the word with our children. It is because they are big now. But for smaller children, for the children below the age of 6, they need to see the parents praying together. They need to see and take part of this prayer together as one family. Maybe grace before meals. Sometimes, even though I say like this, if you're not in the habit of doing it, you might find difficult to break through. But I want to tell you, there's always a first time. And there's always room to start something. Start small. Don't start big things like holy hours, one full rosary. Don't bother about that. If you haven't started, give it one try. 1 Our Father, 1 Hail Mary a day, grace before meals, something small, but it gives your child the message of the importance and how lovely it is when the family prays together. Just as they say, the family that prays together stays together. Next is the development of love. It is how a child's the need to feel love, like we spoke before. And then, of course, the security as the child grows, what he needs psychologically, physically, and spiritually, and then the love that the child needs. When I say the love the child needs, he or she needs to feel it, not just hear it. You need to hear it, and the child needs to feel it as well. For example, if you're giving a hug to your child, nothing lost if you say, "I love you, darling," and give that. The child might still feel it even if you don't say anything. But that thing that he or she hears also helps, develops the child to be able to receive love from the parents very especially. And then about the security. Have you heard, in today's context, a lot of the parents might say that our children are not self-confident. Have you wondered why? If you feel that your child is lacking self-confidence, before we label the child, have a look at ourselves. What have we done wrong that it impacts the child so that the child doesn't have self-confidence? Couldn't it be that we have been too quick to advise the child rather than encourage the child? Or don't do this, don't do that, you will fall. So we are guiding in the pretext or in the thinking of guiding, we might actually push down the child's self-confidence. It might be that we removed all obstacles from his way far too soon. And I know that most of the parents like us, we are very protective of our children, overprotective. Let go. Let the child fall and get up on his own. Okay, so much so for that. I think we had a small technical hitch, but it's probably okay now.
It's okay now. So much so for that area. Just to emphasize that we today are covering mainly children from the age of 1 to 6 with some common areas. But there will be a second part and a third part of this training which will cover the teenagers and children who are married. So today the next slide, you have to be on the watch out for your kids. What the kids see becomes habits, as I said earlier. As I said earlier, whatever he sees while socializing, they become habits. So you should be very careful as to what you do with your kids. For instance, both of us being professionals, maybe most of you are professionals or even working moms, might have a difficulty in looking after your kids after school or in the morning sessions. So what are the options we have? Because we need to socialize them in an atmosphere which we prefer. So if the kids socialize with us, with our good behavior, which I spoke to you earlier, and certain other people who has the same values, norms, that means the culture which we prefer, they will see the correct things. They will see what is correct and learn from that. For instance, I used to come and talk on my mobile when I was small. When my kid was small. When my eldest son was about 1+, even less. So he was inside the cot, right? And he would take a toy and he would say some, I don't know in what language, and talk as if he's talking on the phone like Tate. So he has not seen anybody else than me. So what he sees will become a habit. You will see that he's learning because the memory is free. The brain, there's enough space to keep incidents, pictures, learnings. So they are very quick to catch up good things as well as bad things. So if they see something good, praise the Lord. But if they see certain things which are not desired, the behaviors which are not desired, then that would be a problem. So we need to socialize them in that atmosphere we desire. In getting to that, I said, you as parents should mind what you say and what you do, that you are performing in front of them. But the children see other people, maybe your mates, whoever. So you have to be very careful. So sometimes we let the maids look after the kids, as both of us have to work. Both of you might have to work. So what is the option? I would say the best thing is to have the grandparents, because they have the culture, they have the norms. Most of them have the norms, and most of them have the values we desire. They might have shortcomings, but it's better than having a maid socializing with them all the time. Your kid will be like the maid's child. If you socialize your kid from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 12 hours with the maid, or if you send your child to a daycare center and pick the child at 5:30. I know there are difficulties, but it's my responsibility to tell you about the consequences. So better option will be to have them with the grandparents, so that they will supervise the maids, they will socialize with them, they will tell stories to the kids. So these stories are the ones, is one aspect where their value systems, the norms, the culture is built up. So it's very important that we try to socialize with them ourselves, and when we are not there, maybe grandparents. Right. The child's future language is today's language of parents. We talk using harsh words, the child will pick it up instantly. So that is something which is controllable by both of you, including us. But we make mistakes. But best that we behave in a manner where children can take us as example. But if you, as I said earlier, if you socialize them with maids or daycare centers, if you send the child to a daycare center, if there's a person who's taking care of that person, your child, it will be like her or his child, because the values, norms, and the culture imparted is from that person. So these are consequences of our actions. I'm not saying what is wrong or what is right, but try to socialize them with the grandparents. That's what I would say. Now, the next thing here is what I spoke about. What they get from the environment is the norms which they get. Now, we were talking about us parents performing in front of them. When the child is small, basically we are the ones who are performing. Maybe the grandparents might be there, maybe the maids might be there. But once your kid goes into the society from grade 1, there's another whole new world which will open. And you have to be mindful about that. Right. Okay. Next. Now, the child's school-going age is next. When the child is 6, we will send him or her to a school. Now, this is the first time the child is spending time without the mother or the father. Maybe can be even a Montessori. Maybe from age 3 or so you might send. But it is the first time the child is going to spend about 5-6 hours out of school without the protection of the mother or the father. So it will be a very hard thing for the mother, especially for the mother and the kid, to bear with. But they will adjust. But if you have a problem in adjusting, especially the kids, if they have a problem in adjusting, it's pertinent that we advise you to get some counseling, get some advice as to how to handle this situation. But the child will discover there is a whole new world outside the house, outside the home. When he goes to the Montessori or the school, he or she will discover there are kids like me, lot of kids like me, and there's another world. Although the child might cry and start asking for the mother, say, Amma, why don't you wait? Inda, Amma, don't go. Right? All those will come. But the child will discover there is a whole new world, a new horizon. And he will start interacting with those people. Right. And you have to be very careful about the dangers from the outside world. Why do I say that? Right? I will take a minute to tell you. There are people, there are children who might bully him. Secondly, there are people who might sexually abuse them. We as parents have to be very careful about this. Talk to our children before we send the children to Montessori or outside. Tell them this type of touch is appropriate. This type of touch is not appropriate. If somebody touches you like that, you have to tell us. And it's not right. Especially the private parts. If you're going to touch, only the daddy, only the mom and the dad, Ammi and Tati can touch your private parts. It's very important. Nobody else can touch. Even that during a wash, if the maids do that, it's during the wash. The people who are going to abuse are the most trusted person. I have been abused when I was small, when I was 3 or 4 by the maid who was looking after me. I didn't know what to say. And it affected me right throughout my life. So be aware.
Next is about coping with unforeseen difficulties. Firstly, it's about, let's get the points, a separation or death. Now, in both these situations, it leaves a big void in the life of the child. Separation tears the child apart, especially the children that we are talking of under the age of 6, because they do not know why mom is in house A and why dad is in house B. And still worse, if they have two or more children, some children are with the father and some children are with the mother. And what happens? As a child, that child is deprived of living with his siblings and receiving the warmth and the love of both mother and father. Another mistake that parents do when they are separated, they try to give the maximum to the child when they see the child. For example, I know of a couple who are separated. One child was with the mother, the other 2 children were with the father. During the week, it is one formula. During the weekend, it's another formula. And each time the parents get to see the children, the other children who's living with the other spouse, they try to impress the child, giving everything under the sun so that they look good in the eyes of the child. And another big damage you do if you are in separation is that you give this idea to the child that separation is okay, that it is a done thing, that it is normal. And then the child might even be led to seeing his mother or her mother with another uncle. So is with the father. The father has another auntie. And there's a comparison going already. Can you imagine the trauma you put the child through? So while we speak, if there is any one of you in the audience today who has even crossed the idea of separation, we plead you in Jesus' name, don't do that. Don't do it for the sake of the divine gift that you have got from God. It will tear the child apart. If it is a death, it is not anyone's fault, but the child will really feel the void. And the single parent who's left behind might have so much now to do or take upon him or her. And if there is anyone in the audience today who's a single parent, the message that the Lord gives you is that the Lord will not forget you. The Lord will send people to help you, to be able to strengthen you through the Holy Spirit, so that you will be strengthened. Just like the Lord, we have one God who is our Father as well as our Mother. Just the same concept, He will bless you, that you are now the Father as well as the Mother for your child or your children. So be strengthened in the name of the Lord if you're a single parent. Divorce is the other thing. Now, if parents are divorced, just like separation, if they are divorced, it will also adversely impact It's only the difference only is that it's a separation, is not legalized, but the divorce, it has already taken place. Now we go on to marriages with a conflict. This I want to tell you. If you and your spouse are in conflict, if your relationship is shattering, but you are under the same roof, fighting like cats and dogs, calling each other names. My dear parents, you are killing your child little by little every day. Because the child doesn't understand. If you listened, Upul said that a child below the age of 6 does not understand that the parents will reconcile. When the children are preteens or teenagers or elder, they wouldn't really bother too much when the parents fight, because they know that the parents might reconcile. At least they might assume that they will reconcile. But a small child doesn't understand. And even worse, when we are in conflict, when the parents are in conflict, they try to win the child. Did you see what Mama did? Did you see what Ammi did? Do you think that's right? See, you're torturing the child to take your side. And the child is helpless. Can you see what the Lord has given to you as a divine, pure gift? What torture you're taking the children through if you are in a marriage of conflicts. My dear friends, if you are in a marriage of conflicts, please seek help. Please seek professional help. There are many parents, young parents, whom we know, who have come to us, who has come to the services of the Family Apostolate, that has benefited and who have come through. But it's a continuous improvement. So please don't torture your children by getting into conflicts with your spouse in front of the children who cannot understand anything. All right. Then the last point is looking after differently able children. Now, this is something that a person who doesn't know God might think that it's a curse upon the parents because they don't know God's plan. But my dear friends, if you have been given a differently able child, that is because the Lord knows that you have much more to give, that you are capable of handling the child. And the Lord will give you a double blessing for accepting that child. It might definitely need special attention, special medical care, special schools, special vehicles sometimes. But the Lord has so much trust in you that He decided that is the love this child, if he ought to get that, this is the place that I have to send this child to. There are a few of our very close friends and relatives who have differently able children. And each time I see them, the love they give the child, I say a small prayer of thanksgiving and praising the Lord for that love that they bestow on that child. It is a great blessing. And I want you to tell, if you know of anyone who has a differently able child, to explain that this is God's chosen parents, where the Lord has that much more trust than any other normal couple. With that, we would like to conclude this, but maybe there is a summary.
Yes, in summary, what we spoke about today, The child is a gift from the Lord. And we are appointed as the temporary caretakers. So the child is not ours. The child belongs to the Lord. That's why even you adopt a child, there's no difference. That child is also a God's child. The best gift you can give a child is to grow in love. The love between you two is the best gift you can give. And a very good married life is the best thing you can do for your child. So you are constantly on a platform where the child is watching you, your children are watching you at every moment. Very important. You are in a performance on a stage in front of your children. So be aware of that all the time. You have to help your child to grow holistically, not only physically, psychologically only, but spiritually as well. So it's very important, the spiritual life which you inculcate in your family, which only you two can do. You should let your child see Christ in you, in all your behavior as parents. Then only he or she will see and feel God's love. Only way to experience God's love for a child is through you, so that he or she will be a witness to Jesus, Lord, in his or her life. Okay, that's about it all. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you and God bless you.